times are tough, wallets are tightening, and prices are constantly soaring high. How are young people managing to stay afloat and navigate a season of financial roller coaster, from the economic heat wave to the constant and daily budget adjustments? And that's how you know it's all about surviving the squeeze. I am HosannaOkrafo, and this is Youth Hub. Welcome to another beautiful and exciting episode. Let's unpack. With me is a young serial entrepreneur and a lawyer who's our guest on the program today, Ibrahim Adamo. Ibrahim, thank you for coming on the program today. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? It's nice to be here with you.
Yes, exactly. It's always nice to come on Youth Hub. I mean, this is where we talk about the issues bothering the youth, where the youths have voices, where they can, talk about their problems, those who have journeys, those who need mentorship. We have lots of things, to do and to talk about on Youth Hub. So today, on today's episode, we are looking at surviving the squeeze, youths coping with, inflation and high cost of everything is rising, the cost is going, it's alarming, it's saddening. And let's get to the roots of it. Let's start with the origin of the inflation, which is definitely government's reforms and policies. How do you think the government's reforms has really affected how the youths are living, the young people, how they are managing, how they are struggling, and all of that?
First of all, like I said, thank you for having me on your program. The government policies so far so good that have affected the populace generally, not just young people, citizens of Nigeria and whatnot. Two major things. Upon the swearing in of the present president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he, I don't know, for reasons best known to him, decided with his economic team to float the naira. That's on the one part. That floating naira, apparently a lot of people don't even understand what these concepts are. So floating naira means allowing the value of the naira to be determined by the forces of demand and supply on the foreign exchange market and whatnot.
Okay.
And also, he decided to remove the fuel subsidy. So a lot of people feel like these two decisions have been really the cause of the whole the high inflation, and what have you. But the reality is this: the issues of fuel subsidy are issues of laws. So even before the present president came, the former president, President Muhammadu Buhari, already signed into law the PIA, which is the Petroleum Industry Act. And that act has fully deregularized the downstream sector, which allows for competition and full deregularization, apparently. So there was no provision for subsidy for the budget that President Tinubu came to meet. So it was only wise for him to do that. But however, the only problem that we are having as citizens is how has these policies of his, or let me say his implementation, affected young people and the populace generally, and what is the government doing, to cushion the effects of, inflation and everything. I've spoken on various forums, and I am personally of the opinion that President Tinubu should have, taken deliberate acts.
Yes.
There are many things that, if you look at the global economy, generally there is high inflation everywhere in the world, actually, apart from very few economies. And I can tell you why. So I feel like down here in Nigeria, we should look at our own peculiarities. And the president should have, and we are still advising that he should, it's not late, make deliberate efforts to put in measures that can cushion this whole inflation and everything. Part of which, for example, is to take deliberate acts. If you look at the economies that are thriving in the world, you realize that one of the reasons why those economies are the way they are is because the general populace, not just young people, the citizens have little or nothing to worry about, their basic needs. Take for example, transportation, health, housing, stuff like that. I'll give you Switzerland as an example. Switzerland has one of the best economies in the world. And one of the things that they are doing significantly that is helping them is the fact that they are not relying on the major, so the whole world is going through one direction in terms of, generating power. But Switzerland is using hydropower because they have dams, they have rivers there.
So they make use of that,
Yeah,
they capitalize
exactly.
on that,
And
what they have, their resources.
If you can solve a major problem like power in a country like Nigeria, you've solved at
least
at
good
least 40% or
yes,
50% of the problem of
yeah.
entrepreneurs and everything. So I think basically back to it's the issues of these two policies, floating the naira and implementing the removal of subsidy that has really brought us to this
extent where we are really struggling with PMS, struggling with food, struggling with a lot. And do you think these changes are benefiting or burdening the average citizen, the youth, the young
like I
people?
said, the president, or let me say, the Nigerian economy is a very dynamic one.
Very dynamic.
Yes, so I think there are many things, like I said, deliberate acts that should have been put in place. For example, if you're removing fuel subsidy, and usually most Nigerians, or let me say at the time, most of the politicians who are supposed to be the ones, and government office holders that are supposed to, implement these laws, they are of the opinion that fuel subsidy is Nigeria's problem. Whether that is true 100% or not is a discussion for another day. But now that there's no subsidy, President Tinubu, for now, what I think he should do is to pay attention to the power sector. We should think of how to generate power through other means.
Yes.
To bring, at least we need a proper power supply. That's going to help like SMEs and other businesses, institutions, and what have you, and also transportation. 90% or 80% of this hike is cost because of transportation. We need to see deliberate acts now, in a metropolitan city like Abuja, Lagos. In fact, if you ask me, there's no reason why the 36 states shouldn't start thinking of how to implement, a proper rail rail system
to help transportation.
Yes, because everywhere in the world, it's only in Nigeria. Of course, I won't say it's only in Nigeria. I'll just speak about Nigeria. It's only in this country that you see in the morning there's a huge traffic going towards one direction. And I think it's because
everybody's leaving for work at the same time.
Exactly. So and not just that, everybody is driving to work.
Exactly.
So if some people are going to use, for example, an underground, or not necessarily an underground train, even if it's like a surface train, to office, I feel like our roads will be less congested.
When they are
even our infrastructures will even last better. So at this point, when people I see the president speaking about providing palliatives, rice, and I've always wondered whether that's going to go around. I don't know how many percent, if we are like 200 million people in Nigeria, how many people are going to get access to this rice? And then I ask people generally that, is it only rice that people are going to eat? It's about the stew. Where's the firewood that you're going to cook the rice? So, it doesn't make sense sometimes.
I'm laughing this much because you know why? On the internet, I think some days back, I stumbled on a blog that posted something about some group of youth, some group of young people, and they were like, why is our government always giving us rice? They said there's no fuel, rice. Change the national anthem, rice. Insecurity, rice. Insurgency, rice. Everything, rice. Where is the stew? Where is
everybody. You begin to get
just feels
curious.
Like
and
the hunger is used as a weapon.
Yeah, and guess what? The funny thing is when you see government officials boasting of supplying rice to states and what have you.
Yes.
I'm like, okay,
it's really
how long
it really makes me feel some way.
What we expect by now is if the president is hell-bent on, not reversing the subsidy, because if you ask me, one of the only things, amongst other things, I will not say that's the only thing, that the general populace in Nigeria, citizens enjoy was the subsidy.
Yes.
Now that subsidy is gone,
it helps
for reasons,
lots of businesses.
Yes, government officials have argued year in, year out that subsidy is too expensive. Nigeria cannot continue. Like I said, there's a discussion on its own whether or not we would have, if you ask me, we would have been able to manage subsidy. It's just because we are not strengthening.
Things are being put
we are not
place.
strengthening our institutions. If we strengthen our institutions, we should be able to, have proper records of, our consumption of PMS and what have you. Okay, fine and good. Subsidy is gone now. That's, by the way, since it's a matter of law. What do we do next? Like I said, I am still advising strongly to the president that we should look for alternative means of transportation, one. Two, I think our institutions, generally, we should start thinking of a new culture. You know, COVID-19, opened our eyes, like the whole world, to the fact that, some of these things that we're always making sure that everybody is physically present, it's not
doesn't
needed.
really work.
I feel like by now, if, for example, the minimum wage is not enough, for example, to cover the cost of people
Some
paying
people should
school
work
fees,
from
I
home,
think-
hybrid.
exactly.
You get-
Not everybody needs to be in the office.
At the office.
Like I said, it's so funny in this country. Not people just resume in the morning to offices. Most of them only. I am of the opinion that in the civil service, only 40% of the civil servants are actually
Working as at the
being
time
effective.
they resume
They
duty.
resume duty. So there's no need of bringing even the 40%. We should find a way. I'm not saying we should cut down, because that's a very controversial topic, saying that we should cut down,
Totally,
employment
people
and
don't
whatnot.
work,
But
yeah.
even with the ones we have now, we should find a way. People should work from home, like connect to Zoom, Google Meet. And I feel like people will be more effective. Like that way, you are able to, follow up on who is even working in the first place.
Yes.
In the world generally, even schools now, I see schools just resumed, I think, a week ago or this week. Everybody is shouting, because even the schools, they are finding it difficult. They have to pay teachers, they have to pay other staff and everything, and then that's making everybody increase their school fees. You understand?
Yes.
Now, this whole thing has a ripple effect. So, like I said, if we are able to change our culture a bit, now there's inflation, there's hike in prices, we should take it easy on ourselves. Schools also can actually go online. We can have this, maybe you can do three times physically, then do virtual.
The rest can be virtual.
Because
yes.
in the world now, people get degrees virtually. You can be in the comfort of your house and get a course done in Harvard, on Oxford.
And get your certificate.
And get your certificate. So I feel like we should actually look at these options too. I feel like Africa generally, we are having these issues of being stagnant. We are not ready to, move towards the new waves and changes and everything. So I think virtually, if we should adopt,
don't even try to adapt to it.
I think we should adopt virtual means right now, to cushion the whole effect of transportation. Workers are complaining. SMEs are closing down. You can imagine if somebody has a hairdressing salon, maybe he started with 20 million naira, paying salaries of 60,000 naira each. Now you can't do that. It's either you're going to lay off some workers, or if you increase your service. And if you increase your service and you don't get the normal
you would still
customers
have to
that you get,
on the customers.
Exactly. So what is going to happen is that the truth of the matter is, generally now we get reports every day. SMEs are closing down. SMEs are closing down. So the president needs to look at this. And how many people are actually our industry in this country are very few. This whole, maybe big
some
industries.
Some foreigners have even left.
Exactly. Some foreign industries have left the country, because when you look at, and because also as this is happening, there's a lot going on around tax. So, these things can be floating at the same time.
It's just a triangle. Okay, now talk about all of these, the tax, the these and that. I think it's also affecting daily budgets and adjustments. What daily budgeting challenges are youths, facing, and what strategies are they adopting to cope with these financial problems?
Oh, well, like I said, Hosanna, right now, youths that are business owners, it depends on the type of business you do.
You're doing.
People are working from home. If you are smart enough now, people are working from home. Unfortunately, some people are laying, because you're talking about budgeting, some people are laying off some staff. When you look at it critically, for example, if you have, let's say, 5 cleaners before in your office, you have to come down to 2.
It feels like there's a need for daily, every day you can even step out with 2,000 naira and you can't even...
So these, for example, laying off the remaining 3 staff now, they have to now start looking for where to work next. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
So can you see that this whole thing is having an adverse effect? But if the government takes deliberate effort, it's not a one-day thing. If we begin to see, Nigerians are not asking for too much. Right step, like direction. I said, when we begin to see people rolling out, let's say the government, for example, even FCT, this is the nation's capital. We don't have a proper rail system within the metropolitan city of Abuja. So what are we talking about? So when we see efforts, for example, let's say the Honorable Mr. Wike, they discuss, and then we start seeing that, they're trying to rail this city. If in 3 years they're able to raise it, fine and good. That means people can bear this, knowing that it's going to end sometime. And when there's a proper rail system, if it used to take you, let's say, 2,000 naira to move from Karu, let's say, to Maitama, and the rail system is 500 naira, you can see that its life is actually becoming easier. But for you to, where the fuel subsidy is you remove fuel subsidy, and then the PMS is on the high side, you floated the naira, you know, people, it's not even easy for people to import. It's going to be really, the adverse effect is really bad on business owners, most especially youth.
Okay, so let's talk about the inflation. Let's talk about inflation. How is it affecting essentials like food, PMS, transportation, daily living, and what sacrifices are the youth taking to help cushion and navigate these struggles?
So you see, inflation, like I said, is a global phenomenon. So research, when you look at, I think Nigeria inflation, it moved in June 2023 from 22.8% to like 34.6% in June 2024. That's a significant increase. And in the world generally, we are looking at over like every month, like in the US and other countries, only few economies are able to tame this whole inflation thing. But back here in Nigeria, unfortunately for us in this country, most of the things we consume are actually imported, which in itself is a problem for us. So you see, inflation definitely is going to hit us so hard. People take noodles.
I even feel like the inflation is just upcoming. Like the president said, these are baby steps. I wonder what the adult steps really look like.
No. But like we said, I think the ways we can cushion the effects of this of inflation in particular, is we should start looking into local production. Local production. Rather than get a Gucci bag, you can patronize someone.
But they have been there. It's just that I feel like Nigerians too are not really helping Nigerians. We have, what do they call them? People who make shoes. Is it bucklers or what do they call them? People who make new shoes. People who make new bags, handmade from the scratch. And these things look really beautiful too. But you see someone tell you, I only wear designers. Those designers are actually made by people. They are made by people.
So like I said, it's still a patriotic, I think it's a Nigerian thing. We are not patriotic enough, one. Two, even our government, themselves, like our officials, are not making deliberate moves. Like I said, when government makes deliberate moves, even the citizens will know. If, for example, today, the president decides that he'll start driving an IVM, Innocent Motor, that will go a long way. What it means is that for all the big cars they budget and buy every time, they will be buying from Nigeria. So when you see your president taking that type of move, all other officials buying Nigerian-made cars, everybody will start moving. But you can't have a situation whereby the president is driving an American SUV.
You think our government officials what
but I'm not even blaming the president for driving an American SUV. All I'm saying is that we should start looking, we ourselves, the citizens, we should find a way, to, like you said, patronize Nigerian-made stuff, Nigerian rice, Nigerian bags, Nigerian shoes. That will help us grow our own economy. So by the time we ourselves patronize these things,
the money is in, it's revolves all around.
So money is in circulation, one, our naira strengthens, two, and then we begin to import.
Right.
So we begin to export.
Rather.
So by the time we begin to export these goods, I think it's not a one-day thing, all these things, but over time, in 2, 3, 4 years, our economy will be good and the inflation will drop drastically. Because what brings inflation, like I said, is because you need to go, imagine if everybody, for example, behind their house has a green area where you like planted tomato and, small vegetables. What it means is that you don't need to move out of your house to go and buy it.
Every time.
So that will even bring, of course, everybody knows this simple economics, demand and supply. Once there's no much demand, nobody's moved, we are not too many. If, for example, from 100%, we are having like, let's say 50% of people going to the market to get tomatoes because everybody has decided to have a green area in their own house planted. What it means is that the price will actually come down. So the same analogy, the same graph for tomatoes goes around for everything. Like I said, we have Nigerian coupled cars, IVM, and a few others. If we do this across like 4 or 5 sectors, inflation will drastically reduce.
And it's also going to help the congestions on the roads. Like, it will slow down a lot. Some people be in the house, not everybody pulling out at the same time.
So again,
everywhere looking busy.
So again, the economy is actually like a very is a very straightforward thing. Fuel subsidy gone, PMS price high. So if, for example, even if one tomato costs, let's say, 1 naira, if it has to move from Sokoto to Port Harcourt, the person transporting it, the person that's going to sell it in Port Harcourt will have to put, consider the price at which he has transported it from Sokoto to Port Harcourt, and then that's, so again, like I said, all these policies, what will actually bring, let's say, a proper cushion, like what can help us mitigate inflation and whatnot, is actually looking inward. We need to start like improvising in terms of food, for example, food security. I'm thinking the president, not this president, even the last president has actually encouraged even young Nigerians and back to our demography. Everybody should move back to the farms. Let's find a way to, plant these little things and what have you, so that we don't, the pressure is really much, trying to get everything, transportation and everything. So because if you do this, what it means is that you don't need to transport, for example, tomato from Sokoto to Port Harcourt.
Or even export. What are even the things that we are really exporting from outside the country? Because looking at it, basically, I think we even have more lands to... It's more fresh.
Like I said, people are actually planting. People are doing production. It's just that we have not gotten to that extent where we are doing it in large scale, that we really have, that effect on our economy.
Okay.
You understand? And again, I blame the government for that, because if we make our industry work properly, a lot of people will actually invest in this country. A lot of Nigerians are millionaires, billionaires, but they would rather go to other countries and invest than to invest in this country, because to them, this country doesn't really work for them like that. You understand? So we are always, it's quite unfortunate, as little as toothpick. So
we import them.
So that's really bad.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Adamu Ibrahim. I hope I pronounced that well. Ibrahim Adamu Ibrahim.
Adamu Ibrahim.
I.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I got you laughing there. Okay, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing reasons for the hike in prices, particularly. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. This is still Youth Hub, in case you're just joining in. Okay, you are a serial entrepreneur. I understand that you are into other kind of things. What are the other kind of things that you're into apart from being a lawyer?
Okay, prior to me being a lawyer, like I said, I have run a media brand.
Oh, really?
Yes,
you have a thing for media?
Yes, content creation, photography, videography, and also consultancy, for people that want to, create contents for their brands, brand identity and what have you. I've done that for, I think, at least 7 years now. And yeah, so far so good, yes.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, let's talk about the key reasons for the recent hike in lots of things. What are the key reasons behind the recent hike in prices, particularly concerning subsidy removal and fluctuating exchange rates?
Okay, so the conversation continues, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
Subsidy is gone. So subsidy is gone, which means the price of crude, PMS particularly, will be determined by, what's going on like with exchange rate and how much PMS is being sold in the world generally. So prior to now, in simple terms, what people, some Nigerians don't even understand what subsidy is. So what Nigeria was doing over the years was, okay, PMS gets to Nigeria and it gets to Nigeria for 4 naira. For example, yeah. It's supposed to be sold at 6 naira. So the government decides to pay 2 naira for you, you pay 4 naira yourself. That's what we've been enjoying all these years. So, but year in, year out, governments keep, while the government keep changing from Goodluck Jonathan to Buhari, they kept on shouting that, are you sure this subsidy that we are paying, is it really, does it look realistic for us? Should we continue? A lot of people have argued for and against. Personally, if you ask me, I think Nigeria has what it takes to pay subsidy, at least. So it's just because, like I mentioned earlier, our institutions are not working. It would have been easier for us to pay subsidy because our economy is actually, sorry to say, a good percentage of Nigerians don't have money. Like, we can say they are poor. Only a good average are in the average, they call them middle class.
Yes.
Middle class. And even the middle class, when you look at it, it's actually a bit artificial. Our economy is an artificial economy in a way. So it's better, what the government should have done is to continue paying subsidy, put institutions and measures in place. Let's know what is the amount of crude that we have on ground. What's the amount of crude that we are exporting? We need to know the amount of crude that Nigerians consume every day. But I can tell you the funny thing and the unfortunate about this country is that this conversation, these debates have, lingered for years. People don't even know the amount of crude that we use, even though they come up with different figures, but they themselves within the same organization, the NNPCL and other key actors in the sector have always argued that this is not the right, that some people think that these figures are just increased just for, people getting money and what have you. But, I blame it on our institutions. Like I said, if we have working institutions, not individuals, we should be able to know. The world has, grown. Even countries, we discovered oil in Nigeria, I think, even before independence, pre-independence era. We started exploration maybe in the early 70s or, it's crazy that over 50-something years post-independence, we are still here talking about refineries working and what have you. So subsidy is gone. I think the government should make deliberate efforts. I've consistently said this because these efforts, palliative rice, is not going to work. It's not going to work. No, Mr. President, for me, I'm somebody that wants the president to succeed, because if the president succeeds, the country succeeds.
Yes, of course.
So we are advising that we need to make deliberate efforts. The president should look into the transportation sector. I know transportation and energy. If we can start, of course, we have been using like hydropower in a way, but we should try to generate more power. People are the energy sector is a big one. People are now generating energy and power like wind and what have you. We can do all these things. Nigeria is blessed abundantly. We have our dams working and everything. We should try to get our energy sector working properly. Nigerians need proper supply of light, because when there's proper supply of power, energy, and then there's a proper transportation system, be it rail, waterways, even buses and what have you. Like I said, employment, most of the people that are employed, they spend, why our economy is like this is because our people spend 80% of their income on a recurrent expenditure. And not just any recurrent expenditure, essentials like transportation, like feeding, like power, like energy. So once the government can go a long way, to establish, a good power supply, if there's a good proper power supply in our industries and homes, our industries will thrive.
Yes.
If there's a proper transport system, our industry will thrive because they'll employ more, and which means even the workers will spend less of their money on recurrent expenditure and essentials. So yeah, basically those are the things I believe for now. For now, there are other things that the government can do, but the ones that will be pressing, that looks very feasible if the government is willing, is transportation and the power sector. The government can invest heavily and make these two sectors work. If these two sectors work, our economy will thrive.
Okay, thank you very much. So that also brings us to the structures the government needs to put in place to help us, curb the inflation and make it noticeable, because it's not just about we are going to do this, we are going to do that. How noticeable are we seeing that, okay, the price of this is going down, the price of that is going down, and, helping the economy to boost and helping us also to thrive? Because somehow it feels like the whole pressure is more on the young people. I mean, our parents are kind of done with their lives. It's just us right now. I remember my mom telling me that she really pities me, like, she really feels like, how am I going to cope with starting up life on my own as a young person? Everything is increasing every day. You can't even have 10,000 naira and feel like, okay, this 10,000 naira is going to carry me. Sometimes 10,000 naira just carry you for a day. So we beg that these things, these structures are being implemented by the government to mitigate a lot of problems that we're having in our economic system. And that brings us to the end of our discussion with Adamu Ibrahim today on Youth Hub, which is Surviving the Squeeze. And I hope you've been able to learn how to, navigate this whole problem and season. Just hang in there a little bit. It's going to get better. I am Hosanna Carafo, and I remain your host on Youth Hub. Thank you for staying tuned today, and join me next time on Youth Hub.